This meeting is being held in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-6 et sec. Notice having been published according to law with a copy on file in the city clerk's office and a copy posted on the bulletin board in City Hall.
We all stand for flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. City Manager, can we have the agenda, please?
Yes, Deputy Mayor. This is the Council of the Whole meeting for Tuesday, April 9th, 2019. First on the agenda is the Essex Prospect Beach Railroad Rehabilitation Plan proposal. We have a proposal from DMR, which is trying to address this section of town, which highlights the proposal seeks to create a redevelopment plan for the remaining properties that were designated by the resolution number 376-18, but were not included in the November 2018 rehabilitation plan. See the exhibit and the attachment. So you folks have that in your binders, but basically we're trying to create and make sure that we obviously attract and develop the entire section, not just partial of it. So the exhibit, obviously, there's copies. If not, I'll be glad to have them posted, and I'm sure we can get them at the website, identifying the areas that we're going to focus on to rehab and obviously rehabilitate for the city's use. If there's no questions, number two is...
If I could just
Sure.
clarify just a little bit more so folks understand. If you remembered a while back, we took the area looking from Essex to Beach and from Prospect to the railroad, and a study was done, and that study found that it was an area in need of rehabilitation. Following that, a redevelopment plan was made only for the properties that were owned by Hackensack University Medical Center. Because that whole zone was already established, what we would like to do next as a city is put together a redevelopment plan for the remainder of that area. And this is something that the redevelopment committee has been going back and forth with now, ever since we actually defined that particular zone. So this is of interest, and at a time when public comment is offered here at the Committee of the Whole, we would like to hear some feedback from those of you that are here in attendance, as to what types of things we feel that we should be supporting as a city in that particular area. We on the redevelopment committee have some ideas of our own, but before proposing them, we would certainly love to hear suggestions from the public on that as well at the end of this. Thank you.
Number two on the agenda is the Johnson Park turf field. I have two samples up here, and the city has been attempting to get this turf field replaced at Johnson Park. There's the Legion Pro 2.25, and then, not to be outdone, I feel like a carpet salesman, is the, what do they call this? The Legion HP 2.25. I'll leave these up here so if anybody wants to come up and run their fingers through this turf field. But the city has had the need to replace these turf fields because the city of Hackensack has an excessive use of our fields. The company that provides this, we are able to join in a co-op pricing, so we didn't have to go out to bid. So the recommendation is to use the Pro because of the durability. Unfortunately, the part that it doesn't make sense to me is that if you pay extra, the warranty for it does not increase. But I don't make the rules. So
8 years.
8 years. So Shaw Turf is the company that would be providing this. They're in the co-op bid. Our engineer that's following this project is Darmafowski Engineering. Their oversight is $12,000, and the additional funds needed to make this work is $63,000. Now, Jim Mangan and I set aside almost a year ago, $300,000 for this project. But unfortunately, I guess the price of recycled Pepsi bottles has gone up because the new price, we're going to be short $63,500 plus the 12. So an additional $75,000 will be necessary. And I'd ask the council to consider that because now that it's on the co-op, we don't have to go out to bid. We can move to get this project done sooner than later. My only suggestion is that we need to coordinate this with our recreational programs currently because this needs to be done before school lets out, but I don't want to do it immediately and take the field that's already scheduled and the people are going to use this field off the list or the ability to use it for play or practice. Number 3 is a resolution to reject hate within the city of Hackensack. This is a resolution that came from TNEC that basically defines and defies the issue of hate, recognizes violence against others due for their identity as not keeping it within American values, rejects hate in all forms, especially the type that results in violence against any particular group, rejects labeling of groups and being less valued than other groups. So obviously we have our own program here. We have our own committee, but anything that we can do in this world to make people respect it, I think is positive, and I'd ask the mayor and council to approve this resolution. I think it would be helpful. Number 4 is the resolution to block robocalls. I can't express personally how happy I would be if the world could end that immediately because I get about 15 of those a day. So anything that this mayor and council could do to end robocalls, I'd certainly ask your support and the ability to get that done. Number 5 is the traffic within the Hackensack school area. Let's see here. I gotta flip one more page. On here is some information that's been supplied by the police department, maybe our OIC or somebody of his staff wants to just have a quick understanding of school areas and how they're addressing these conditions. You're welcome. Do you want this memo, Pete?
No, it's just that we are working to alleviate the problems. We're going to try to work with the PTA, whoever wants, really anybody from the school that wants to assist. We've reached out to the vice principal at Fairmount. That seems to be one of the problem areas. And we're going to see if we can move the buses up. We have some ideas that we want to run by them, and they were pretty receptive to it. But we're here to, to alleviate the problem. I live in town. I deal with it every day. I live next to a school. So, but we are, my captain, Traffic Captain Foley, and Lieutenant Captain down in Youth Division. We're putting together, she left some paperwork for you, Captain Donna. And,
I passed that. You folks have it at your place.
yeah, like I said, we are trying to alleviate the problems, and it's keep the residents happy. Yet we have to keep the traffic moving. We understand that it's an issue.
Any
questions?
I mean, are we working towards having a legitimate, well-defined drop-off plan, especially for in the mornings?
We're trying, yeah. We actually have from other schools too. We got neighboring towns, see what they do. Mm-hmm. The issue really also that I found out because of this problem was there's only like a 10-minute period where we have to get Fairmount is a prime example, is 10 minutes to get 610 kids and students into the school. And obviously that becomes an issue. Everybody's double, and when the officers are available, we have them there, but sometimes we're short of man, or we get an accident, or we get another call, we have to pull that guy, the crossing guard calls out, we have to man a police officer to take crossing guard. So especially when we're short an officer or two, it heightens the problem, because when the police are there, obviously the police presence does help. So I've looked at a couple.
But I mean,
options.
is there cooperation with the school? I mean, I know in other towns, there are school officials that are out
Right.
and expediting that process as well. I mean, at least, you know, standing and helping that the children are exiting the cars and going directly into the school so the cars keep moving if you have a drop-off long.
Right,
lane.
Fairmount, I spoke to the vice principal there, he says at 20 after they do come out, so we're trying to actually set a drop and go area right in the front, move the buses up towards,
There's no way we could move it a little earlier,
the.
the time? Yeah.
It's, they won't come out of this, they won't start taking in residents till, the students till 20 after.
So they're not
No,
allowed
it's
in the
more-
building until
No.
20?
No.
Is that what it is?
Yeah,
No.
sometimes you got about maybe 740s, about maybe 15 or 20 kids by themselves.
The Board
The
of Ed,
sidewalk.
I stopped by there Monday morning, myself, Captain Foley, and Captain Nicola, we went there, I spent an hour there.
Where?
And, Fairmount?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we were there from 8 to 9. And it was less traffic because we were there. They saw 3 officers there, and obviously we were able to move the people around. But the first car I saw got maybe 5 after 8 they got there, and they let 7, 8 kids out, and they stayed on the side. The parent was there, but they won't allow them into the school until.
And there's
until the
no teacher or anything out there to line them up or organize?
Around a quarter after, a couple teachers came out.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
About a quarter
And
after.
maybe that's something we could try and work, I mean, Stephanie and I meet with the Board of Ed monthly, maybe
We
that's something we could, because if we had that cooperation, I mean, I see one of them here is, school starts at 8:30 and
5 minutes.
they're not allowed in
Right.
until 8:25?
5 minutes, yeah.
Yeah, that's Parker, that's the school I'm at. So I just,
Parker?
yes, so
I'm
we've.
by Hillers, and it's the same
Okay,
thing.
we've seen you guys around and I appreciate it.
Yeah.
But I think, like you said, there's a few different factors. It's the time frame, you're trying to get, how many kids in a door in 5 minutes.
10 minutes earlier would
Right,
mean everything.
exactly.
They would open the doors at 10
Right.
after.
And-
We asked about paras and
Right.
they're not really, I
Yeah.
didn't really get much.
And that's a big deal too, because as a parent, if you drop your child off and you know there's a teacher out there or administrator, you'll go on your way. You'll kind of go because you're confident they'll get in. But if no one's there, you're waiting for them to get in. Now you have a traffic jam. And I think maybe the parking, I'm only speaking for Parker, but 3 sides of Parker are all no parking on the side. So I know I suggested a while back maybe seeing if we could do away with the yellow and make it maybe 5 to 10 minute parking, and then parents will know, okay, you come and you drop the kids off. Because I think the main problem there, it's a one-way, and it's not so much, I don't see a problem with parents pulling over to the side and letting their kids out. I mean, I don't think they should get a ticket for that because there's really nowhere else to go. It's those parents that are double parking. I've seen parents stop in the middle of the road and literally get out of the car and walk their child to the door, and now you're holding up traffic. Now you have kids, darting out in front of cars, and other cars are trying to pull out. So I think the double parking issue is the main issue at Parker.
I agree. No, I agree. That's really what came out of the police department was double parkers, letting them out in the middle of the street.
Right,
Going
right.
against traffic. If you pull to the side, even if there's no parking.
Yes.
During the school.
Right.
Obviously, we're not gonna,
Exactly.
give out tickets to.
Right, and there's nowhere to
side.
park at Parker.
Right, and they're just dropping off their children.
Right.
We get it. We're not.
And if there was an administrator out there, you could kind of just, pull over, let them out and go. But if there's not, unfortunately, you have parents, now waiting, and people are waiting for spots, and now there's a traffic jam, and people decide to start double parking, and it's a mess in the morning.
I see it.
Yeah.
Like I said, that's where, and the thing is, the residents have to understand too,
Right.
well, the parents, that you're gonna get a summons if you're blocking traffic. If you're impeding traffic,
Right.
causing a hazard, you're gonna get a summons.
Right.
Because we have to move the traffic along.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I
we-
see, it looks
really
like on
is-
this sheet that you presented, right, that you did survey some of the other towns. Someone did,
that was,
right?
yeah,
So
Lieutenant
so
Governor.
one of them is only 10 minutes, but most of them, I'm looking here, are 20 minutes.
Other towns, right?
Yeah, other
Right.
towns are 20 minutes to a half hour, or
And-
25 minutes.
Actually, behind, I think there's, is that where you have the maps?
Yes.
If they're behind it, they actually have drop-off zones. Most schools have a drop-off area. I mean, I looked at Fairmont, I thought about driving around the back, but they won't because they line up kids there.
Right.
Everything that I came up with, they had, was,
What's right in the front? Is that where the buses drop off?
yeah, they're on Grand, if you
Right.
make the right off Fairmont. So we're gonna move them up towards Poplar. This way, it also frees up the.
The front of the building.
Right, because that
Yeah,
would be ideal.
And that would be the drop, basically.
That would be ideal,
Right.
just
Right.
drop and go. I mean,
Right,
that's,
and-
and then parents don't have to get out of the car, they can get to work.
Absolutely, right.
And I know
I
a
think
lot of,
everyone would
right,
love it.
and a lot of parents aren't happy about the tickets, and, I don't think they should have tickets on the side, but if you're double parked and your child is running out in traffic and you're impeding other people from getting to school on time, then, you're gonna get a ticket if you're double parked, you can't do
No,
it.
that's really, we left it at the double parkers,
Yeah.
anything that's impeding traffic, do what you have to do.
Right.
If they pull to the side, let them,
That's fair.
let them.
Sometimes they can park by Baldwin Park, right? And they can walk, but
Right.
Right.
they don't want to walk.
Right,
Yeah.
I can't tell someone to go walk your kid to
Right.
school. I grew up here, we.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's rainy
Okay.
and the weather is rough.
And
But the
they- and when it's
drop-off
30
lane, the drop-off lanes work great. I mean, I know when
Well,
my grandkids were in
yeah.
Maywood, when I sometimes had to take them when they were in Memorial, I mean, that lane moves. You're not even allowed to get out of your car. You
Right.
have to have open,
Yeah,
you
but
know,
you
have
have
them open the
somebody
doors
besides.
themselves and
Rachel
get
Park
out.
did the same
Well,
thing.
They just go.
that's what we're gonna try to implement, is that, just that. So in that front area, maybe for, I don't know how many feet, a couple hundred feet, there'll be enough cars, pull up to the car behind you, let your kids out to the curb and go on. It'll be called the drop and go. Captain Foley's working on the signs.
Yeah.
So we are trying to at least fix that. If that works there, then once they get used to it, they'll see that, all right, this is how it works. We'll put something on social media. We'll
And maybe we can
got
move the
flyers.
drop-off time, maybe instead to be 8:20, 8:25, go to 8:15.
That's right.
Right. have to have
Oh,
them there.
that would be the school though. That's not.
Yeah, it's a school
that's-
issue.
If we get any assistance, yeah.
Yeah,
We
but no,
can, we can certainly bring this up at our meeting
Yeah,
with the Board of
that's
Education.
why we.
Okay, so then he can insist it.
You can't insist.
Sure he can insist it.
And we don't have before care. A lot of towns have before care, so a lot of
We
towns
had
have
it,
some.
and the YMCA used to provide it, and they got away from it. I don't know if
Right.
it became a
So-
financial issue. I don't know what happened. But that also, but I thought of Paris,
Mm-hmm.
they won't open doors. Contractually, I get the same answer, 20 after. Is
know.
pretty much it. If they would assist, 10 minutes is a big difference. If you give me 10 minutes
Right.
and the drop and go area and moving the buses, that's just Fairmount. And then the other schools, they'll follow. But if they see that it works, obviously, once they get used to it and the officers there enforcing, they'll get used to it and they kind of,
The problem.
It
Sounds
Good.
like a great plan. I mean,
Yeah.
we'll try and talk and get more feedback from them. when we
yeah,
have our
but we
next
need some
meeting.
help from the schools too. We need their assistance. There's only so much we could do.
Right.
Because then we take the heat for giving out tickets and that's not what we're not trying to do that too.
Right.
And I support you 100%.
You know, the schools have a contract what time you
Right.
punch in.
Yes, that's
And
the
when
problem.
Your contract says you
20 after.
punch in
Right.
at 8:20, that's what it is.
Now Fairmount, a couple of teachers came out a little
How
bit
do you think
early.
other schools do it? They're doing it.
Can they,
But
maybe
their
they could,
contracts may be different.
yeah.
I'm-
They're
They had to
the same amount
modify
of
the
time.
contract.
Yeah, that's
They have
something
to
that's going to
modify
be,
the
I don't know, that's the
contract.
PTA, the unions, but it's a contractual.
Right, it's out of our,
Yeah,
yeah.
we
Well,
can't make the.
No,
Right.
that's not
No,
our
and
decision to
we
make. All we
appreciate
can
it.
do is make a
Right.
recommendation.
Recommend.
Be there
We're happy you
and
came up with a plan, and
Yeah,
I
we're
think
trying.
that's a way to start. So
Okay.
that's great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I just want to say, I met with the command staff and the OIC this week in reference to these issues. I thought they came up with some great ideas. My suggestion is, next time there's a Board of Education meeting that we meet with the schools, I think we should have Pete there.
Yes.
And maybe his designee from traffic.
Yeah,
I did not know until he advised me that contractually, we get 10 minutes to unload 610 children at a school site.
Rough, it's a lot.
It's like herding cats. That's a tough order for anybody, and unfortunately, the parents are not going to leave these kids just
Oh, I
sitting
don't
on the
blame
curb
them.
without
I
a
don't blame
structured
them.
plan. There's just no way.
don't
That's
blame them.
that's in their parental right. So we have to come up with a solution, and I think the solution is they're going to meet with the schools,
Yeah.
the support of the police and the traffic bureau, and we're going to make this work. So
Yeah, we
I
definitely
think
need
the
assistance from
OIC
the-
and the staff.
We need the assistance from the schools though. All right?
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you
much.
so much.
Thank you.
Next is the resolution appointing Bergen County Community Development Committee. This committee will serve as a regional community development committee. Previously, it was, I was the alternate, Albert Dibb and Wayne Veritzma was on it. We have now changed it to add Susan and Ryan are new project managers in this, and I will remain the alternate. So I'd ask the mayor and council to approve this resolution. And last but not least is an update of Chapter 90 sale of tobacco. The ordinance needs to be changed because now the sale of tobacco or vape or any of those apparatus or however you want to refer to them, you now have to be the age of 21. Obviously, the city has some other concerns, but that's not part of this resolution. But I will be checking the zoning to make sure that that gets addressed. So electronic smoking, tobacco, vaping. There's another thing on here I've never even heard of. Juul, I don't know what that is. But in either case.
If you invested in Juul, you'd made a lot of money right now, so.
Wow. I've missed all those boats in my life, so I guess I'm in a rubber raft, so I'll pass.
Can I speak to this briefly? So I don't think this is not physically on the agenda, I don't believe, for this meeting. It's just on for discussion, correct?
Yes,
So, so the reason we didn't proceed forward is I did want to bring to the council's attention, right? We were updating Chapter 90 to include e-cigarettes and within our tobacco regulations. E-cigarette vendors, unlike tobacco vendors, at this point, it's my understanding they are not licensed by the state of New Jersey, meaning, any 7-Eleven can just decide they're going to sell these things, and anybody can, a deli, a bank, anybody could sell them. There's no regulations on this particular type of, since it's not really tobacco, but call it a nicotine delivery device. So when I was looking into updating this ordinance, one of the things I did notice is that quite a number of towns within Bergen County and around the state are now establishing a municipal licensing system so that if they want to sell these products, they have to go through municipal licensing because, again, we've talked about preemption in other instances, like when we amend our alcoholic beverage rules and regulations, and I'm waiting for the state to approve that. Eventually, the state may well regulate this, at which time the state rules would come into place. But a number of towns, Ridgewood, Westwood, in Bergen County for sure, have put in licensing regulations. They've charged, I think $1,200 for a license and, annual fees and if there's a violation. So if someone's selling these things without approval to do so, you can hit them for an ordinance violation. That was beyond the scope of what I was asked to address in this ordinance, but I felt it might be useful to at least put you on notice of this in case that's something you did wish to consider, if that made sense. Again, it's not universal. It's only, as I said, the last I saw is maybe 20 or 30 municipalities that have chosen to act and regulate this. But it is an option available to you, or we can just simply, not address the sale component of it and just the regulation, the 21 years old, the other things that we would be addressing in the ordinance itself. So.
I personally would agree with your recommendation. I think that, it's worthwhile for the city as a whole to know where these products are being sold. And, if we are going to regulate 21, which is, the new law in the state, that we need to know where these things are being purchased as well. So I think having, application fees and understanding these things is important as a city. So I don't know about the rest of the council, but I think that it sounds...
Against all these devices, I think it's dangerous for the young people.
Absolutely,
I would
Leo.
like to see make more difficult for people to open more stores that they are selling the product, because the moment that these kids they get hooked into type of electronic cigarette, they're going to be in trouble eventually.
Well, absolutely, and
Destroying their lungs.
at least what Steve is recommending is something that we can do, is at least understand and make sure that people have an application to sell such and control and police it as such. Otherwise, it's really just an open field and we don't know where they're being sold.
Well, that's right. I mean, that's my understanding of where the law is right now. And
The Board of Education, police, they should be go to the schools and have some kind of conversation with the kids and explain to them the dangers of these electronic cigarettes, how much damage they're making to their lungs.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I'll put a draft together for the next meeting, and the council can introduce it in first reading, and you'll see it laid out. And as I said, I'm not going to reinvent the wheel here. I'm just going to take what's already been done in Bergen County with other towns, and obviously change it to suit Hackensack's needs, but it'll be similar to those other municipalities.
I think we're all in agreement, yes, everybody?
Yeah.
Yep. Ted, is that all you have?
That would complete the city manager for the cow agenda.
Okay. Can I have a motion to open to the public? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, Anyone who wishes to speak from the public, you have 3 minutes. Please give your name and address to the clerk. Welcome back, Kathleen.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, everybody. Kathleen Salvo, 47 Lodi Street, Hackensack. This is great, and I'm glad that we've been trying to do this for years with the Board of Ed and the Police Department to work together to get our kids into the building safely. The problem with Hackensack, and well, David mentioned also that the contract says that you only could start at 20 after. But I think the variable that's missing here is called the resource officer, who in most of the towns is the person who accepts the kids when they get dropped off and walks them to the building so that they're safe, so the parent doesn't have to stay there and wait for them to go in. And that's what we need to have in these, or a designated drop-off area. Fairmount School, moving the buses up was a great idea, and I remember at one time there was also a handicap spot there that interfered with a designated drop-off point. So if that's a way, that's fine. Having been in Florida and observing they have like thousands of kids. Nobody double parks. Everybody queues and waits. They let a few people go, drop them off, and continue, and they don't have that problem. But like I said, if they need to give a few tickets to enforce it, to try to train the people in the right direction, then this is what has to be done. Because it's training the public what to do, and it's the safety of their own children. But to let a child off on the double park and let them in between cars, and we had accidents in Fairmount, we know we had kids hit, or to let them out the traffic side, which is even, everybody has to get out the side of the school. And also the thing that we have to enforce is to cross at the crosswalks. We have crossing guards that are posted there. And the pedestrian has the right of way in the crosswalk. It doesn't mean that the crosswalk is here and a mother crosses with a child in the middle, just within 5 feet of the crossing guard. That's teaching them the wrong way. And we have to educate the parents and the teachers to use the crossing walks. Hillers, I don't know if there's a designated area, and why is that street blocked off during the day? Couldn't we have it like a flow, like drop off and then continue if it were one way? Did we look into that solution? Because it's always been blocked off, and I don't understand why. If it's one way and everybody comes, drops them off, and continues on, you have a flow, and that's what we need. We need a drop off and a flow. And talk about the ECDC, forget it. There's no solution there. It's a disaster. It really is. There's no drop off. There's no waiting. There's no training, and just pray every day that nobody gets killed. But I think we're on the right direction, and it should maybe have a special meeting where you don't wait for the Board of Ed, now that everybody's on the same page, to get this into play. I mean, you identified it, you know what you need, and to just implement it. And I think we're in the right direction. Thank you.
Thanks, Kathy. I think Kathy's bringing up a good point. Now that we're putting the SLEOs into the grammar schools, we hired a couple more. I don't know what their hours are or what their responsibilities are allowed to enable them to do. Maybe they could be the ones, maybe they could be, the folks that could drop off a little earlier. I don't know.
But are they allowed to be out of the building, or should they be inside
They
the
are
building?
allowed to be into the perimeter of the property. It's my understanding from what we heard, but are you going to answer for us? Regina, could you wait 1 second? We'll just hear what she has to say. Because maybe, Kath, that might have been, if it's realistic, wouldn't affect the teachers.
I'm Lieutenant Capadonna from the Hackensack Police Youth Division. Essentially, the SLEO 3s can receive the children. The problem is, where are they receiving them to? They're happy to help move the cars. I know that some people have seen Officer DeLucci at ECDC. That's where he kind of specializes in the morning, because those children are so little and it is such a hazard that they physically need to have their hands held. So he tries to facilitate that to the best of his ability. But if the doors aren't open, you can't receive 600 kids because there's no place to put them. And that's where we kind of fall into the catch-22 of, okay, if we have a SLEO 3 there, I still need
Someone inside.
from people from inside to receive the kids. And it's a touchy subject, because I do agree that their contract starts at 8:20 and they shouldn't be asked to go above and beyond. Maybe we need to look at somehow maybe paying 15 minutes on a rotating basis to certain teachers that want the position to bring the kids inside, allowing more time for drop-off, allowing Officer Ralph or one of our 2 new gentlemen to facilitate and move the cars that way. You know, I hate to say cop and go, but drop and go, drop and go. And that would facilitate and speed things up if we were able to receive them when the weather is bad, when the weather is good. You know, right now at Fairmount, they do keep the kids outside for quite a while till the very last minute because they view the weather to be good and it's less inside of the waiting queue for the kids before they go to the classroom. Those are all things that need to be addressed on a Board of Education level. All right, if you have any
Thank
other
you,
questions.
thanks.
So complicated. Ted, this is a jewel. It's helped me quit smoking cigarettes. It's a pod flavored. There you go. And it's making a lot of money. Lot of money. For me at least, but anyway. Regina DePasqua, Parker Avenue. I think it's funny we're discussing the traffic problem. Not funny, but ironic. Traffic problem with kids and cars, because just a few months ago we were discussing how kids are going to walk to school. And I said, kids don't walk to school, and you're proving it. So putting schools in different areas, parents are going to drive them no matter where the school is. The other thing I have a problem with the condo board being politicized. Now, somebody sent an email to somebody who sent it to the secretary and had to have it approved by the vice chair, and it was telling people how to vote. Not to vote, how to vote. And the condo board should not be a political at all. They have access to all, and it went to residents. The email went to residents. People got it. It should not be used for political purposes to say, support this candidate and vote this way. You know, especially since people are misconstruing the budget with the referendum, and they're not related or tied into each other at all. And anybody that's putting that out publicly is misleading people. The budget is required, as you know, the referendum was for special projects. But the condo board, in their minutes I read, said that the budget is the same as the referendum. And I'm flabbergasted that they are allowed, a city board, suppose a recreation board decided to go do that, send whatever their agenda was out to people and out to residents. You can't do it. It's wrong. And maybe they need to have all their emails approved by somebody in the city before they go out. Because this one came from somebody to somebody else, sent to the secretary, and in the email said, have it approved by the vice chair. There were names used in it. And then that very same email, my friends that live on Prospect got it, saying vote no on the budget, because that's what the condo board wants, because they think it's the same as a referendum. And who to vote for. You know, that's wrong. Am I wrong?
Agree that they should not be political. Agree with you 100% that they should not be political, Regina.
Okay, but it's happening. And nobody's overseeing it. They're doing whatever they want.
Agree that they should not be political 100%. Agree that they should provide information to the public and let the public make their own decision. I think, again, I have not read their most recent minutes. I do get them, and I do usually read them as well. I know that Councilman Battaglia attends their meetings. He's the council liaison, so I'll defer to him in a second. But I believe, and if it was represented incorrectly, they should fix it. I believe that the concern was that the referendum, I think the voices in the referendum came across loud and clear against building a new school at this time, not against renovations. And I think the concern is, as is my concern, that the capital expenditures that were published in the newspaper, in the Bergen Record, said, and were part of the presentation by the board administrator, say that their capital for this year is a down payment towards a new school, when we know that there's so many existing renovations that need to be done. So I believe that that is a concern. It is one of my concerns, and I believe it's a concern.
You got to start somewhere. You got to start somewhere. But that's not the issue. The issue is a city board, residents are being political, and I think they need some oversight.
I agree that should not happen.
Right. But friends of mine that got it, they're like, what the heck is this?
We agree.
Okay? Thank you.
Neil, anything you want to contribute?
Well, the only thing that I can say is no excuse, but the person that was in charge, Mr. Moore, is sick, really sick. And the other lady resigned because she is working now. Connie resigned. So then they are getting together again, so maybe with miscommunication, or they did something that they're not supposed to do. That's the only explanation
They made a
that I got.
mistake. They made a mistake, and
The
mistakes
email,
shouldn't
the
happen.
email came from Sahela Space, okay?
Not on the condo board, I don't believe.
No, to a member of the condo board, and he
Right, but she-
forwarded it,
if
okay?
that- If that
It's
is true,
totally-
right, but
totally-
Regina, if what you're telling me is correct, she's a private citizen, so she has a right to her
And the
opinion.
person that
And if it happened through the condo board, you're 100%
Yeah.
correct. That should not happen.
She directed.
And we will
this guy
speak,
to
we
do
will,
it.
Leo, we will speak to the condo board and make sure that
Correct,
that
she's not
doesn't.
on the board, she shouldn't be doing it.
We will handle
Thank
it.
you.
Anyone else from the public wish to speak? Come on.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Perry Jackson from Hackensack. I think they're making about 8,000 units available throughout
8,000 what, I'm sorry?
8,000. Is that correct? 8,000 units available for the buildings that are being constructed.
Oh, units. No, not 8,000. Right now, about 2,000. About 2,000 right now is in
In total,
progress.
how many are we referring to that they plan to establish with all the
Right now,
development?
right now,
Or with the
we're at about
speculation of-
2,000 that are in stages of approval.
Okay, but projecting forward, how many?
Projected
how-
forward, there's a
how-
potential for that 2,000 to grow by another 2,000. So there's a potential, but
4,000.
none of that has been finalized at this point. But there are plans that more projects could come on board that could bring that 2,000 number up to 3,000 or 4,000, but not beyond that at this point.
Okay, so talking short term, have they met?
Short term is 2,000.
We're speaking in terms of the budget to meet the requirement. Will they actually have enough to get everything established with the cost factor,
Yes,
everything involved,
yes. The 2,000 we're talking about have already moved beyond the financing phase.
beyond? Okay. So they've adequately taken into account everything that it's going to cost?
Yes.
And how many people will potentially reside there? And if it's going to also be some people outbound, whether they're residents of New York who decide to live in New Jersey, and even keeping the residents in New Jersey within housing that's quite adequate to live in, not substandard.
I believe it's going to be, everything that is being proposed is, again, meets all the codes and requirements of the city. It goes through planning board. The requirements of those units, I mean, many of them, I believe, will be true amenities to the city and to the downtown.
Okay. And then where the library is concerned, you said absolutely. Is that to say absolutely yes, they're going to continue to support the library if for any reason that they would like to have online education or information that they need for companies?
We have a wonderful
Look into.
library, and we've always supported them.
Yes, so we're going to stick to the budget agreement that's originally stated?
We're going to stick to.
Yeah, whatever the
We
budget-
presented the preliminary, Jim, our
Request was-
CFO presented the preliminary budget at our last meeting. That will be up for final approval. Is it the next meeting, Ted, or is it one
Yes.
more? The next meeting at the end of April.
Okay,
All public free libraries get 33 of a mill. So essentially, they get 33 cents of every dollar, and that money is automatically pledged to the library. The city of Hackensack in 2016 compensated the Hackensack Library by $1 million. That number has been reduced slightly from that, but Hackensack gets its full share of its mandated 33 cents on a dollar. Plus, the city of Hackensack has also supplied additional funds to keep that library in tip-top shape.
right, on its own effort to continue management with money. Okay.
All right, thank you very much, Perry.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the public wish to speak? Seeing none, can I have a motion to close to the public?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none. Anyone from the council want to speak, or you want to wait until the next
Not really.
council meeting? All right,
I'm
seeing
sorry.
none, we need a resolution to go into closed session.
Somebody offer?
Offer.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Whereas the mayor and council of the city of Hackensack deem it necessary to discuss certain actions under section 7B7 and 7B8 of the Open Public Meeting Act, which pertains to matters falling within attorney-client privilege, ongoing litigation, and personnel matters concerning the employment of a current or prospective public employee. Whereas the mayor and council of the city of Hackensack is of the opinion that such circumstances may presently exist, and whereas the mayor and council wishes to discuss the following issues: personnel matters, ongoing litigation, matters involving attorney-client privilege, matters involving the purchase, lease, or acquisition of real property, any pending or anticipated litigation or contract negotiations. Now therefore be it resolved that the mayor and council of the city of Hackensack deem it necessary to exclude the public from this discussion. The outcome of the discussion will be disclosed within 90 days, or at such time as the interests of the city do not require confidentiality.
Eve, do you have anything to add?
I know tonight I'll be briefing the council on ongoing COA affordable housing litigation, and anything else that we discuss I'll announce after the closed session.
Okay. Thank you very much. We'll be back at 8 o'clock. Good evening, everyone. Sorry for being a couple minutes late. Better late than never. Allison,
Motion to adjourn executive.
do we have a motion?
Offer.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Seeing none?
And just add that we did talk about the Candela case in closed session, so you can add that to the list of litigation that was discussed. Thanks.
And a motion to close the cow.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Seeing none?